Lovely. Great. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming to this talk, which is an Inside Commerce special. So basically, I run a podcast, or co-run a podcast, with another consultant called James Gerd, and Centra very kindly invited us to run this panel with two great brands, which we'll introduce in a second. Yeah, and then just to introduce the podcast, so we run weekly episodes. We cover a lot of topics around replatforming, technology, strategy. We've had a number of Centra brands on. It's a platform that James and I are super intrigued by. We've both started working with it a bit more and, yeah, loved kind of getting deeper with the technology. But today we've got two panelists who are super experienced with the platform. One's recently launched, one's in build at the moment. So maybe to kick us off, Lana, can you give us a little bit of an intro to you and Osprey London?
Yeah, so my name is Lana Resch. I'm head of marketing at Osprey London. So I joined the brand a little over a year ago, and really the purpose of kind of coming in was to relook at the brand. It's an amazing heritage brand. A lot of people know it. It's a legacy, founded in 1980, but it was really left with this old platform. So we're currently on Magento 2, and it's an 8-year-old website, so incredibly old, and it just wasn't really hitting the mark for us anymore. So we came into it, was looking, all the different ones, whether it's Shopify, Centra, BigCommerce, and it just became clear so quickly that Centra was the one for us. We launched in about 3 weeks. We've been relooking at everything from fonts to typography, the way that we shop, our brand experience, UX, UI, everything. It's been really, really fun, and looking forward to it going live.
Great. We'll come back on that in a second in a lot more detail. And then Philipp, can you introduce us to you, your background, Luca Faloni as well?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Philipp. I'm head of growth at Luca Faloni. It's an Italian fashion brand founded 10 years ago, so a little bit younger brand than Osprey London. I'm with the brand since 4.5 years. Over the last 4.5 years, we scaled quite a lot internationally. US, Europe, UK, these are our main focus markets. And at some point we realized that if we want to scale further internationally, we needed basically new backbone for that, for the e-commerce. And last year we decided to move on Centra and launched in March and are live since March. We did also we took also the chance to do redesign, introducing new features, etc. And we continue to do so using the flexibility of the platform.
So sticking with you, Philipp, and you've covered a little bit of this already, but you've recently migrated to Centra, very recent launch. I believe it's the first kind of headless implementation, so there's a lot of newness there. Can you talk us through the motivations for that and also moving to Centra?
Yeah, so motivation to go headless was to have basically the full freedom of design on the front end, to have more flexibility, to localize more. As I said, we're an international market. We need to have multi-language. We need to have multi-currency, all these things. We want to show specific content maybe in the UAE, different to the US, different to the UK, depending on the season. So we wanted to have a super flexible front end. Also, being a fashion brand, you want to give a personal brand identification to your front end, which this setup allows us to do. At the same time, Centra was very interesting for us because we had no experience on headless. And Centra obviously is a super good headless platform, scalable, everything, but is built for the fashion world, which has certain advantages. Some of the features that with other headless platforms you don't have, they're already in Centra, pre-built for fashion brands, which makes it a very attractive platform for us. And in addition to that, Centra, being a European platform, it's obviously, and coming from Scandinavia, it's naturally built to expand internationally faster than maybe other platforms that come from overseas.
And I guess, so you've launched really recently, and over the next 2 weeks, I think maybe 2.5 weeks, we're going to be recording a podcast where we go into a lot more detail around kind of how the functionality around Centra, like how you've used it so far, and also the migration itself. Obviously, a replatforming project is a lot of work for internal, external resources. How did you approach the project from a resourcing perspective, and what tips would you have for someone that's approaching that now?
Yeah, so we did a hybrid model between integration partner and own resources. We have developers in-house. we took the chance to, upskill them during the project together with a partner. We led the design part of the whole project because we have an in-house designer that obviously knows the brand extremely well. Played that back and forth with a partner with Cloud9. And then we transitioned basically over from obviously big ownership of the whole build and maintain of Cloud9 to now ownership internally in-house from Luca Faloni, with here and there some support. But yeah, the goal is that we become independent and then come back to the partner for specific projects or relaunches and these type of things.
That makes sense, and we'll be covering that in a lot more detail on the podcast. So coming back to you, Lana, so you also recently selected Centra, and as you mentioned, you're close to launch now. What made you select Centra over the other platforms that you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, so I mean, to be honest, when I first came in to the brand, I was familiar and had a big background working in Shopify, and I kind of came in and was like, okay, this is where I think we should go. But we're so limited kind of going through everything. Like, we wanted to tell the love story of the brand. We have amazing founders, and at the moment our website is super transactional, and actually being able to customize our content at every stage, whether it's kind of your brand universe, your checkout, your homepage, or anything really, even like down to the PDP, was extremely flexible. And because we were going into this big stance, we wanted to kind of be at the forefront of everyone's minds again. It was by far the best option for us, and yeah.
That makes sense. And I guess you've kind of touched on a lot of this already, but it sounds like it's quite a broad project, and one of the main kind of goals is to elevate the brand, like tell product stories better, create more of a premium experience for a new customer. What else was in the scope of the project, or what was the full scope of the project, and what was the business case?
Yeah, so we're working with an agency, Greban, and they've been brilliant for us because they've a super experience and have been able to kind of outline every single aspect that we want to work with. I think if you're launching anything new, it's a great time to reset. You can have a look at every single aspect from your business, and for us it was merchandising. So we're now moving to depict, because we want to do everything based on people's preferences and have a personalized approach. We're going with Storyblock because when we launch into international markets, we want to personalize the content and localize it in different regions as well, which is huge for us. And we're also looking at Ingrid as well, which is nominated day delivery, opening up lots of different opportunities in store and online, and kind of bridging the gap between the way people shop. So it's been eye-opening, but then I think what better time to kind of relook at your full scope of your project than if you're going to kind of go into doing it.
Absolutely, and I think your mention of Ingrid takes us nicely onto the next kind of core topic, which is omnichannel. And I know omnichannel is something that's like right at the heart of Centra's kind of strategy, go-to-market, a big part of the differentiation across other platforms. So Philipp, as I mentioned to you, I really like your brand, and I keep seeing your retail stores in different countries when I visit them, including London, that you've obviously got a store, 2 stores in London, 3 stores in London. Yeah. So as I say, Centra, has this focus on omnichannel. How big a focus is that omnichannel experience for you, and how have you already kind of built that part of the strategy, and how do you plan to continue to push it?
Yeah. So omnichannel for us is a key, let's say, value proposition also for our customers. I think on the one side, customers expect it, no matter which channel they buy, the retailer or the brand knows them. Obviously, before we had issues, people were buying in our New York store, they were buying online before, it was a different system. People couldn't look up the orders, or they could look, but needed to log onto a different system. They couldn't use their points from the loyalty program. Now, with the re-platforming, we did the same approach as Osprey. We challenged basically the whole tech stack. We introduced Centra, obviously, for for online. We launched C2 for the POS, and Voyado as a CRM and loyalty platform, which integrates well with those both systems, as well then as Yalo for the returns. So now people really, they can, you can buy online, you can go to a store, return it, you get your points from a purchase in the London store, you can redeem them in Stockholm, it's all converted. The multi-currency is not an issue anymore than it used to be before. All your order history is in your account, and also the store associate and sell can look them up. Oh, I bought something in Piccadilly, can you check up the size, right? All the receipts are in the system, they can look it up. From that perspective, both for the customer, it's a better experience, but also for the store associate sales associate in store.
Yeah, and I guess two questions that weren't in the questions I sent you before, so kind of sub-questions. So the first one is, I believe you moved to C2 around the time you implemented Centra, is that correct? And how big a part is that like connection when it comes to the omni-channel piece?
Yeah, so I mean, C2 integrates Omnichannel with Centra, so obviously we see all the stock in Centra, which soon we will then launch, that people can also look up, is the item available in store or not, offer pickup in store between the two. People can already return in store or exchange an online order in store or exchange down or up. All that works fairly seamlessly. We will also launch soon a gift card solution that then can be used both online and offline, right? I think it's a strong integration. Obviously, it can always be better, right? And we're working on that. But I think it's a very good value proposition that these two platforms offer in that respect.
Yeah, it sounds like you've addressed a lot of challenges that a lot of our clients really struggle with because of the lack of, like, I guess, default connections between C2 and Centra. The next question, so you touched on loyalty there, and I think the biggest topic that I see right now in the industry is not necessarily loyalty in its like most generic form, but loyalty as like a way of retaining customers and like making customers feel and making customers kind of act in a certain way. How have you approached that, and how big is it for the brand?
Yeah, so we launched the first version of the loyalty program, I think, more or less 2 years ago, and we saw that customers were appreciating it, right? Not in the sense that, yes, obviously you get points and you can convert them into credit and so on, but it's more like the appreciation that, you know, you reach the next level, you get a gift which comes more as a surprise, or you get an invitation to a nice event. Recently we sponsored in Munich the ATP, so we invited some local customers there. That came as a surprise to them. I think it's a good way of engaging customers and making them ambassadors of the brand. If you do it the right way, obviously we are still learning and want to improve the program as we go. But I think the important thing for us is you combine the points as kind of the foundation, the basics.
Yeah.
But then you combine it with, you know, specific, more personalized add-ons that people appreciate a lot.
Yeah, completely agree. And then Lana, so you guys have got loads of retail stores, and I had no idea how many retail stores you had until I was looking at the site, building these questions. So same question to you, like going into this project, you mentioned you're looking at Ingrid, but like how are you planning to kind of push the omni-channel experience and like commercial side of things?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting from a marketing perspective anyway, because stores for us are super traditional and a kind of a totally different ball game. Like at the moment, it's slightly archaic, it's completely separate to our online, and we just kind of want to make sure that they're talking to each other. So whether with Centra integrating with Emetria, which is our CRM, and Situ as well, we want people to come in store. So if they shop with us, we can then follow up with them immediately after. We then know their preferences, we can retarget them, ultimately, hopefully, boost conversion levels, which is one of our huge goals, and just actually re-engage them throughout their different timings and shopping experiences. And that's not necessarily retail driven. It can be, product care or insights into, the founders or even the product that they bought. We just want them to buy into Osprey London and want to keep coming back for more and more.
Yeah, and I think this question is definitely to both of you, but you've both got a number of stores, or lots of stores. You've both opened lots of stores recently. Lana, you were saying that you plan to open a lot more in the coming kind of months. How do you approach stores, and I'll ask you this first, Lana, because I think your marketing brand hat is well placed to answer it. How do you approach like the business case for a physical retail store, and do you still approach it as like an individual store, has its P&L, has to be profitable, or is there a big brand awareness play there as well?
Yeah, I think they go pretty much hand in hand. You can't have this pit that doesn't really generate anything. We have an incredible outlet business, so we have 12 physical stores across the UK, and it's, within the retail giants such as MacArthur Glen and Lansec, and those are brilliant revenue drivers for us. But unfortunately, during COVID, we did have to shut down our flagship on Regent Street, and we never really had this window into the world of Osprey to kind of warrant opening that up again. So it really starts with Centra. We're, introducing everyone to who we are today, and with that, it will prop up the business case to then open better premium stores, both in the UK and then also internationally as well.
Great. And then Philipp, my first touch point with Luca Faloni was your Marylebone store, and I went in there, and I don't think I bought anything, but I did really like the product. Yeah, same question to you. Like that was the first way I discovered the brand. Really, like, is that how you look at it, or is it more of a kind of profitability play, or somewhere in the middle?
I think it's somewhere in the middle, and I think it goes hand in hand, right? Opening a store that is super loss-making, at this we have 10 stores. We don't have 200 stores. Okay, I think that's obviously the thing of scale. If you have 200 stores, you can maybe make that flagship that is loss-making. We don't want to do that. But on the other side, obviously, a store gives you a massive billboard effect. It adds credibility to the brand. It's that people say, you have stores, like now you are a proper brand, right? It's like, I think there's still this, and a lot of, especially in fashion and the price point we play, a lot of people, they buy online, but first they want to try in store to find their size, not because they're afraid they can't send it back because it's just too cumbersome to exchange or to refund, right? So I think it really goes hand in hand. Obviously, we want to open stores in locations that are aligned with the brand, but that also, obviously add to the revenue and the profitability. Yeah.
Great. And then the third topic that I'll move on to is internationalization, and both of you touched on kind of your new tech stacks and how they enable you to better kind of localize experiences. So Philipp, maybe starting with you, can you just kind of talk us through how you approach internationalization and kind of a bit more around the strategy from a global perspective?
Yeah. So for us, I mean, we want to be a brand for, our customer is an international customer, usually. It's people, who work hard, who work a lot, we learn also travel a lot. So obviously it makes sense to target more globally in our sense, which more globally is obviously is the Western world plus Middle East. Asia is with the sizing is always a different story. But obviously a lot of people who coming from Asia, they still buy from us if it fits. We found there is actually a big demand for the style we offer in the niche we play. And that's obviously a niche. We have a clearly premium price. So the local markets are not infinite. So at some point you need to internationalize, right? To scale the business further. And I think, we go very structured, right? Okay, where are the people who are our potential customers? Where are the economic centers? Where is the buying power high enough? And then we start, with the classical digital channels to open up and scale those markets.
That makes sense. And then Lana, how international is Osprey London?
So currently the UK is our biggest market, and next year is kind of our number one focus is to go first to the US, but it's this huge place, so we're going to start small and kind of pick a few key markets, a few different states, and do a lot of testing. So whether it's with content, so whether they like different model types, different types of imagery or product, what type of product do we know they like to shop in slightly different colorways, but then also merchandising. So there's no point giving them one answer to fit every single market because we know that's just not going to work. So we're really going to work hard to localize in a small area first and then grow gradually. So yeah.
And I guess just one minor kind of deviation, I guess. So we talked briefly about kind of Asia, and it sounds like your presence in Asia is mostly wholesale at the moment. Philipp, like you're a relatively new brand, affluent customer, as you say, global customer. How do you approach Asia?
So we do it selectively. Also in terms of where it is easy to ship, in a sense, right? And where do people buy in a similar manner through our own channels that we already have, right? We don't have the scale and skills currently in-house to, let's say, do a China strategy with the local shopping methods on WeChat, etc. We just can't do it. So we focus on the places, like Hong Kong, Singapore, Middle East. So these places where obviously there's our target audience. There would be also in Japan, there would be also in Korea or in China. But that we can reach in a way without too much of an effort or extra skills that we need to get to acquire.
That makes sense. And then Lana, is that something that you plan on kind of pushing from a D2C perspective over the next few years?
Not currently in the roadmap, but definitely on wholesale. So we know the Asia customer, they like slightly different styles, so we're redeveloping certain lines to go specifically out there, but I would say they're almost more brand savvy. So the first thing they do when they walk into a retailer is they'll check us out on whether it's social or online, and currently we're not hitting the mark there, so that's why it's even more important to develop our D2C to then complement other parts in the business.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I guess, Lana, you've just mentioned that you're planning on going into the US, so I'll come back to you in a second. But Philipp, with Luca Faloni, I know you've got physical retail presence in the US. US is always a really interesting topic, because I think over the last year, maybe up until recently, a lot of people have struggled from a trade-in perspective. It's the most expensive market to build demand in. How have you approached that, and how big is the US market for Luca Faloni?
I mean, for online, it's our biggest market now.
Right, okay.
Yes. I mean, yes, it's all known, right? The market is highly competitive.
Yeah.
CPMs are on a different order of magnitude than in Europe, et cetera, et cetera. But on the other side, people are, I think if you find your right audience and your right niche, I mean, the Americans, certain people in the US, they appreciate, they love Italy, they like our made in Italy value proposition, they like the European style, and they like to have products that are made in Europe. Of course, what you have as well in the US, the buying power is fairly high.
Yeah.
Obviously not over the whole population, but over a higher percentage than in Europe, and to the US population, that obviously makes a huge total number that you can address. So initially we went for the bigger cities, obviously for the states, more East Coast and California. Now we are covering more across the whole continent there, and it's working fairly well. Yeah.
And Lana, you mentioned you were planning on going into the US, and you talked about the kind of digital side of things. I think a lot of the brands that we work with that have successfully penetrated the US market quickly have ended up having a lot more kind of brand campaigns, a lot more like kind of partner activations, that kind of stuff, maybe physical retail as well. Like, how do you intend to kind of attack any of those areas?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're not just going to go out there with a couple different paid ads. We're definitely going to do a full PR launch and rethink who we're going to collaborate with based on like an influencer or a person of note, and then also brands as well. So I think, again, when you're looking to go anywhere new or starting anything new, it's definitely a big picture of something, and there's no point going and doing it in a small way. I think if you're going to commit to it and you want it to be successful, you have to do a bit of everything.
That makes sense. And then final question, which I've put under the general topic. So Philipp, you've just launched. Lana, you're 3 weeks away from launch. You've got a whole new tech stack, whole new kind of, or you've got a lot more freedom in terms of how deep you want to go in certain areas, new features. Lana, starting with you, what are your priorities post-launch from a roadmap perspective?
So there's, the first obvious one, so we want to increase retention, conversion, AOV, UPT, but apart from that, it's really resonate who Osprey London is today with the customer, and that's, making them want to be inspired to spend time on our site and actually come back for more. But, I think there are so many fun features on our site that's coming down the line. We're introducing something called a shuffle button. So at Quick Shop, when you have your basket overlay, you'll actually be able to shuffle products. So it's kind of gamifying the way that you shop, and it's really fun and engaging. And we want to keep innovating and pushing the boundaries in the way that people perceive and also shop Osprey London, and that's really made possible with like the composable aspect with Centra. It's really exciting.
Great, that sounds very Greban. I can imagine them implementing that feature. And then Philipp, same question for you. Like, what do you have on your roadmap? Things that you want to kind of optimize or introduce from a features perspective?
Yeah. So I think one of the things is obviously to improve the omnichannel experience further. We're working very hard on this. On the more operational side, to leverage the stores and the store inventory better, which goes in the inventories, ship from store, all these type of things, to just optimize last mile logistics, offer more options to the customer, being it online or in store. That's on the one side. On the other side is, improve, adding new features on the website, improve the UX continuously, UI, and a big topic over the next, I would say, half years, to introduce heavy and very structured A/B testing to just optimize everything that we have.
Perfect. So that concludes my question. So thanks, Lana and Philipp, for joining us, and thanks again, Centra, for inviting me to run the panel. If you have any questions for these guys, I think they're around afterwards, and thanks for coming.